Hey everybody, welcome to Monday, March 30th. Today I'm just going to go over what some of the calendar says for today and also talk to you a little bit about our causal argument assignment. So on the calendar, we're on Monday, March 30th. I've asked you to do a daily write, and that is in response to another meditation that I've linked in for you. And I do want you to kind of talk about some goals, talk about how you're feeling, especially right now in this kind of virtual class environment. You can write about how you might make self-care a top priority during this time. So don't forget to go in and do your daily write for today. Right now you see the screen is in Blackboard. We're going to go to Unit 3 into the assignment sheet for our causal argument essay. Now, this research journey project that you've done, this is all the research that you're going to use as you write your essay. Now, some research you may not use because your essay may have kind of changed or become more evolved, your essay topic throughout the research. And so you might have to do some more research as you start writing the actual paper. If that's the case, that's fine. But here's the assignment sheet down here at the bottom. You just download it, and this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go over it here. You are welcome to kind of bring your assignment sheet up alongside this so that you can take notes. And then any questions that you have once I've gone over it, feel free to email me those questions and I'll answer them. So here it says this is your causal argument. Notice it says causal and not casual. A causal argument argues the cause and effect relationship that exists in a particular social phenomenon. So I give you some examples here of things you might explore, causal questions that you might explore. But causal argument papers can take one of three forms. It can look at a cause and argue the effects of it. So an example of that might be here. Consider the controversy of the 2019 Gillette The Best Men Can Be commercial. What are the potential effects to this fallout of this advertisement when it comes to men and women's understanding of gender roles? Okay. The second one looks at effects. So you identify the effect and then argue its cause. So an example would be in 2019, our life expectancy went down for the first time in decades. What societal or cultural factors could be causing this? And then you'll argue that out. Or it could be a chain of causes and effects. So for instance, in Mississippi, we have the highest maternal mortality rate in the country. You might argue what's causing the phenomenon. And then you might talk about, too, the potential effects of these high maternal mortality rates in our country, or especially in those local communities and for those children. So you can do one of three as you are thinking about organizing your causal argument. This talks about the importance of research. That's why we've spent so much time on the research portion of this paper. But as you're also considering your research as it stands and what research you have left to do, you might consider some of these questions too. So look into what events or behaviors led into this phenomenon that you're researching. What social or economic conditions led to the issue? Who does the issue affect? How does it affect them? How might the issue affect people indirectly? That's a really interesting question and could lead you into some interesting research too that you still have left to do. So be open to doing more research for this paper if you need it. Also, towards the end of causal arguments, we're usually looking at interventions or solutions that could help in alleviating some of the problems. So usually causal arguments will end sort of solution-driven. There's more help here. Do remember that usually social phenomenons or problems are not caused by any one thing, but it's sort of like a multitude of factors. So you might just be saying that whatever you're writing about is a major contributing cause. Okay, so don't worry about trying to argue that it's the only cause. There are samples for you. If you click on this link, it will take you here to the online writing lab through Excelsior University. This gives you definitions for what causal arguments are, as well as a little video on causal structure in an argument. And then I believe it gives you a sample paper. If we look over here, you can see, oh yeah, causal argument. It gives you a sample causal argument. So you can go in and see that sample and kind of see how this essay is structured out as well. Okay. What you guys are going to do for class today, and this is on our calendar, you're going to go to this podcast. Sorry, let me find our calendar for the day. There we go. Okay. The Black Mothers Keep Dying After Giving Birth. Shalon Irving's story explains why. This is what that looks like. I want y'all to give this a listen, and in your calendar it tells you exactly what questions to address. Essentially, what is the claim of this podcast? It's a causal claim. What evidence is used to support this claim? What are some of the limitations that you're noticing in this podcast? And you can also talk about some of the writer's moves. So like, how does Renee Montaigne, who's our author essentially of this podcast, how is she introducing, transitioning from thought to thought and concluding, and what writer's moves could you steal? So this podcast in and of itself is a causal argument. Listen to it for examples of what that looks like, and you might decide you want to steal some of the writer's moves. I want you to add your comments, answers to those questions below in the comment section. That'll serve as your attendance for class today. And then for homework, you can look on the calendar for this, but I ask you to go to our Writer's Guide, which you can find in Blackboard here under the Reader's Guide. And I want you guys to go through a couple of the argument modules that you'll see here. So under arguing, I've asked you to look at understanding and evaluating arguments, making and supporting claims, and supporting claims with evidence and explanation. And then in a blog post on your own blog, I want you to write about, what were your takeaways from learning about these things and what could you put into your paper. Be sure to categorize that as homework. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to go in and listen to the podcast, add your comments to the podcast below for your attendance today, and go ahead and start working on your draft of your causal argument. You can check the calendar for deadlines for different parts of the process. Y'all have a great day.